Hello, everyone, and welcome to Triangle of Fans. This is Monish, and as always, I'm joined by Nishant. We're just now 3 weeks away from the start of the season. In fact, the NBA announced its Christmas Day fixtures. And boy, are there some big games to look forward to. On today's episode, we'll also take a look at a perennial contender, the Boston Celtics. You can never keep them out of the discussion, can you? We'll also take a look at some of the strange moves that the Clippers are making. I really can't understand them. All that and more in today's episode. Hey Nishant, what's up? The big fixtures on Christmas Day. I think this is the highlight showpiece of the NBA, and they've put in some good fixtures in there. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, usually by this point every season you have some excitement that is already built up, and you've seen about um 2 months at least of proper full-fledged action at the start of the month, and then you have November where everyone's making adjustments, blah blah blah. And by the end of December, it's almost fever pitch. You know by and large who your favorites are, and tight spots are in contention, so every win means a lot more. And people have played a bunch of back-to-backs, people have gone on the road, blah blah blah. You know a lot of the strengths and weaknesses, right? So this is
Yep.
roughly where this is like the first real litmus test, Christmas Day fixtures. And here we are, and we're going to start our season with Christmas Day fixtures pretty much.
Yeah.
It's strange, but at this point, is anything really strange anymore? We've seen the bubble, we've seen a 5 month layoff in the middle of of a season, but they really know how to line up their Christmas Day games. There are at least five absolute cracker matches to look forward to. So I can't wait.
They do, they do. It starts off with the Pelicans taking on the Heat, and the NBA can't do enough to push Zion Williamson out there, right? They got the opening day fixture last year. They got the Christmas Day fixture last year. The Pelicans. They got the opening day of the bubble also last year. And you know what? Zion missed all the three. I think he played the opening day of the bubble, but he missed
Yeah.
the opening day fixture. He missed the Christmas fixture. But here you go again. It's Zion. Zion and the Pelicans take on Butler and the Heat. That's going to be interesting. So Zion Williamson gets another push from the NBA.
Yeah,
This,
that's
Mhm.
fair, right? I think he really is their meal ticket now for the next
Right.
decade or two, unless they find someone better or unless he succumbs to injuries. He's their new LeBron. Broadcasters absolutely want to carry his matches live. They could be established players playing in smaller teams, maybe even bigger teams, and
hmm
the advertisers and the broadcasters would still want to come for Zion. It's this global obsession with just the 13 to 25, 26, maybe stretch it to 28-year-old market is so huge in the world, propelled in no small measure by digital media and all these YouTubers blowing up and stuff like that, is now that demo matters a lot. So it doesn't matter what the guy with a lot of money sitting on his couch with a pot belly thinks of LeBron versus Kawhi, because all the kids want to watch Zion, and that's who they'll carry. So it makes sense to me that they push him this much. But listen, if Zion comes in again injured, or if I see something at the start of the season yet again,
hmm
I would be severely concerned if I were the Pelicans, because that's their entire franchise. And so far, either they're being incredibly overcautious, which is annoying, but yeah, I mean it's their meal ticket. But if
Right.
there's something really there, if there is a significant concern and it rears its ugly head again this season, I'd be really concerned over Zion Williamson.
Right. I mean, I hope all is well with him because he seemed like an exciting talent
Oh
whenever
yeah,
he played and whenever
yeah.
he was on the court. Right. I mean,
Seems like
all
a
right.
humble guy too, down to earth, hardworking.
True.
Seems
True.
like a positive dude to have around.
True. The second game of the day would be Warriors taking on the Bucks. This would see probably the return of Steph Curry after a long time. He played a couple of matches before the league
Mhm.
shut down, but he missed almost the entire of last season. And him taking on, you could say, the prohibitive regular season favorites, Milwaukee Bucks, provided Giannis is still there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting game. The Warriors trying to establish that they are a strong force yet again, taking on the top team.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know if they're the prohibitive favorites in the East anymore with the Nets, although chemistry might be a concern. In general, wherever Kyrie Irving goes, chemistry is a concern. But with this team, especially because both of their superstars are coming off of some degree of injuries or the other, and they've got a bunch of squad players who right now don't know if they're going to start, come off the bench. Would Dinwiddie be happy with the bench role? What kind of minutes is he going to get? What's his usage rate going to be like? There's a lot of personnel issues to be. Like, we know they can ball. there's a lot of personnel issues to be sorted out, and that's kind of where you don't get the greatest sense of confidence from a first time coach who's never really handled any locker room, let alone a locker room like this. He's done it as a player, sure, but as a coach, would he be able to make that transition? It's an interesting pot boiler they've got going on there, but I'd still put them right at the top. As for Warriors and Bucks, man, I would have been so excited for this fixture had Klay Thompson been fit.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm not, but Steph Curry missed a large chunk of last season, and even when he could come back, they kind of took him easy and said, "All right, we let this season go, and next season we come back with both of our superstars." Um, and then this devastating injury to Klay Thompson, which is just it's tragic at a personal level for him, but for the league and the team, of course, is not the greatest thing to have happened. So it kind of waters down the fixture a little bit, but I still think the Golden State Warriors are a great team, and Steph Curry is never not fun to watch. So that's a fixture to look forward to, but that for me that's a little diluted. I think the other fixtures are a stronger draw.
Yeah, let's move on to the other fixtures. And you
Yeah.
spoke briefly about Kyrie Irving. The third fixture sees Kyrie Irving return to Boston, and he missed both the fixtures against Boston last season. But a year after he announced that he wants to stay in Boston forever and whatnot, he just
Yeah.
left. So that's going to be an interesting, dramatic return to Boston. The Celtics take on the Nets. Also, KD is going to be there in that game against. You could say the duo of KD and Kyrie versus the duo of Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, the young guys versus the, you could say, kind of proven established players.
Yeah, I mean they're both champions. One of them's a Finals MVP twice,
Yeah.
so of course, Kyrie. When Kyrie Irving plays, he never fails to show up. It's not like he comes on and has a bad night. That doesn't happen very often. The problem with him is more locker room tensions and whether or not he can build a team, make a team stick together, not be that one guy that ruins everything in the locker room. So him and Boston, that's a cracker of a game because those all those boys in Boston, young, fierce defenders, they play as a team and all of that. They've still maybe not unlocked that highest layer of talent or potential that they have, and they're still on their way to get there. But it's such an exciting unit and one of the most tight knit teams in the league. So they're going to want to prove a point against Kyrie. Kyrie's going to want to prove a point.
Yeah.
This is a fun clash. This is the kind of clash that you want on Christmas Day. This could have been Warriors against the Bucks, though there's not really a grudge situation going on there. It would have been a fierce clash. But like I said, this is the clash I'm more excited about. Now, those Boston defenders against and this really is a battle for supremacy in the East, so to speak. So against KD and Kyrie, this is a fun battle.
Of course, it is a fun battle. Moving on, the Lakers take on the Mavs. It's also going to be Luka Doncic's
Oh yeah,
first ever Christmas game. I think the NBA is set for the Luka Doncic era, and we spoke about it many times in the past.
right.
It's going to be Luka versus LeBron, assuming that LeBron is back and he's playing from the start of the season. They might want to ease him out, given that he's had like what 10 weeks of rest since they won the league. So that's going to be
Yeah,
fun though. Luka versus the Lakers.
yeah. This might not be as exciting as it's built. Like on paper, it's amazing. It was one of the best matches of last season in the
Mm-hmm.
regular season. LeBron and Luka both were going shot for shot. They traded 30-point triple doubles. It went to overtime. There was a dramatic Danny Green. When does that happen? Danny Green game tying buzzer beater shot, and then we go to overtime, and then well, okay. So LeBron and AD took over. But that was one of the best matches of the regular season. I don't know if it'll be quite that this time because the Lakers have a bunch of new pieces, so there'll be a bit of an adjustment curve. And also, like you said, they might restrict LeBron's minutes. I think he'll play, but I think they'll be cautious against going all out. And these guys, they've won the chip now. They've shown how they can pace themselves. They don't have too much of an incentive to go all out and play like there's no match left in the league schedule. So these Lakers now are a bit too set, bit too confident about their pacing. I don't expect them to go all out. I do expect Luka to go all out, so that's going to be fun. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think my favorite matchup still so far is Brooklyn
the
and
Celtics.
Boston. Yeah,
How about this? The last game of the day is going to be the Nuggets versus the
yeah. Now we're
Clippers. A
talking.
repeat of the second round Western Conference matchup where Clippers had a 3-1 lead and then blew it. The last time we saw this game, Paul George tried to attempt a three and hit the backboard. So that's
Yeah,
going to be a really, really return. I mean, what do you call it? Part two of that of that rivalry?
yeah. I think If Clippers don't come out with a point to prove, and they don't play dominant basketball, I'll be ashamed of this bunch of talent. Like really, I'll be. It's so sad to have all of that. They don't even have that excuse of Harrell is a mismatch on Jokic anymore. They've got Ibaka. If
Yeah.
Jokic can toy around with Ibaka, I think the league's over. We can just stop watching because it's too much now. If we can do that, if he can do what he did to Montrezl Harrell to Ibaka, that'll be the most demotivating start the Clippers have had in years. But I wanna see the Clippers back up top. I want to see Paul George, Kawhi, all of these guys come back, and I want to see them dominate. I'm sure Denver will find their way back, but the league needs a strong Clippers. The West needs a strong Clippers to make things interesting. So I hope we see that happen. Which, going by their off season, doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Also, that the Nuggets have got a Christmas Day game. They did. They played the Pelicans last year on Christmas, but
Yeah.
this is kind of telling that the Nuggets are here to stay, and they are one of the teams to watch out for, isn't
Yeah,
it?
the prime time now. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're talking about the Clippers, so let's stick with them. They're making a bunch of strange moves. What's happening with them? First of all, they waived off Joakim Noah, a former Defensive Player of the Year, but they re-signed Reggie Jackson. I mean, you could see that. Okay, maybe that could have happened.
Right.
But the rest of the guys, Nicholas Batum, they took that
Oh my
huge
God. Yeah.
player from Charlotte, who Charlotte waived off for Gordon
Yeah.
Hayward. They've re-signed. They've signed Kai Bowman. They've signed Rajon Tucker. They got in Luke Kennard Jr. instead of Laundry Shamet. Are we talking about potential favorites here? Who are these guys? I mean, they're supposed to be signing big names.
Yeah, I don't know. They should be favorites. I don't know why they let Shamet go and then got Kennard in, unless they were making room for what exactly. They're not. It's not like they're making
Kai
a move for
Bowman.
anyone. Yeah, they made room for Kai Bowman. Joakim Noah, that's fine. I think they picked him up kind of just before the bubble, and he was
Yep.
just a backup security piece, like J.R. Smith on the Lakers. Doesn't really matter.
Right.
So that's okay. Now, Ibaka, again, like I said, spectacular move, but they need more. Because they let Harrell go, okay, they got Ibaka. That's a major upgrade.
Yeah.
And Ibaka is a straight up starter. So that's an upgrade there. Now, are they bringing Lou Williams? Are they keeping Lou Williams? Is he going to stay? Is he going to be still coming off the bench? Which means they then need a ball carrier. They need a point guard. That's the only reason they did everything they could to make sure Reggie Jackson signs, because they don't have a ball handler. They don't have a point guard, and they didn't go for one. I still can't understand why they didn't go for Rondo, regardless of what it will cost them. Should have gone for Rondo. All right, Rondo goes to Atlanta, gets big money. Make everything happen for CP3. I didn't get that. Is it that the Clippers made an offer and CP3 chose Phoenix? Doesn't seem too likely. I think they just didn't go for it. So unless they have a trick up their sleeve, some last minute move like Kawhi Leonard did last year, it's tough to see how they're going to make all this work. Now there's talk of prying away Terry Rozier from Charlotte. That'll be a good move. Rozier is a great addition to this team. But reports say Michael Jordan loves Terry Rozier. He's not going to let him go. And while everyone talked about the Clippers getting Rozier, they went and got Batum. Now, Batum is one of the worst contracts in a franchise that is known for signing some of the worst contracts. And Michael Jordan, who's, as Max Kellerman once said, the Michael Jordan of bad GMs and bad owners. And they took that garbage contract and they took him on.
Yeah.
I don't get how Batum is this highly rated, this highly paid in the league. And the Clippers took him on for what? All right, so he's one more name on your roster. But what gap is he plugging? So nothing about the Clippers makes sense right now. Can you name their starting lineup? What's it going to be? Are they going to start Reggie Jackson? Okay.
Reggie Jackson,
Paul
Luke Kennard
George.
Jr. probably. Paul George and Kawhi, of course. And at the center, they probably start Ibaka or Zubac.
Well, I think, I don't think Zubac is starting ahead of Ibaka. So Ibaka. So, all right. So Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Kawhi, Ibaka, right?
Yeah.
Who's their four? Do they have a four? Batum, I suppose, right? Because they let Harrell go.
Batum
and anyway
started a grand total of 22 games last season. He played a grand total of 22 games last season.
Yeah, and the Clippers make a grand total of 0 cents this season in the offseason. So I think it aligns pretty well. They don't have anyone. They don't have any Harrell's gone, and he was coming off the bench anyway before.
Yeah.
So unless they have like a double pivot Zubac and Ibaka kind of system, which again makes zero sense to me, or they'll have to play someone out of position, bring in Luke Kennedy. I don't know, man. This team, they're beyond my understanding now.
Yeah, are you still putting them as second team behind the Lakers though?
Yeah, they have Kawhi and Paul George. If they play to their level, yes. Sadly, yes. In the regular season, that's all that's needed. In the playoffs, it's going to come undone very, very soon.
Sure. I really hope the Clippers have one big move that they're keeping
Yep.
and waiting on everyone and getting it done, right? Let's move to the East. I wanted to talk about the Boston Celtics because there's a team that I really like.
Right.
I've liked Boston. They've always seemed relevant. They've always seemed a perennial contender, right? And now I think they have a very experienced team or a bunch of young guys who are starting to get that experience and elevate themselves. Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum. I love this duo. They have probably the most rigid defender in the league in Marcus Smart. He's not going to let you take a shot. He's that good. And
Yeah.
he can get his own shot nowadays. You saw in the bubble where he could go off on a rampage and shoot 5 threes in a row.
Outside shooting. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they lost Gordon Hayward, of course, but they've signed Tristan Thompson. They've lost Enes Kanter. They signed Tristan Thompson as that's an upgrade over Kanter.
Oh, no
Thompson,
doubt.
He's a proven winner. He was starting and he was a starter in the championship winning squad, right?
Yeah.
But I think the major concern for them is the fitness of Kemba Walker.
Right.
He does this every single year where you expect things from Kemba Walker and then he goes missing for a large portion of the season. And again, this season, it's announced that he'll miss the starting few weeks. He won't be allowed to play. That's quite a dampener for the Boston Celtics, isn't it?
Yeah, good and bad. Tristan Thompson, that's a great acquisition. On Kanter, he's a definite upgrade. Fun fact, in the chip winning season that he had on the Cavs with LeBron, he got out rebounded by Steph Curry in the finals in that series. Like across over 7 games, he got out rebounded by Steph Curry. Another reason why LeBron gets disproportionate credit for that incredible comeback. Because like you mentioned before, he led all 5 main stat categories across both teams. Right? How often do you see that? But great rebounder, solid defensive presence, can get you a few points here and there. But essentially rebound and defending. Kanter, which when you think about it, in Boston, that's all they need him to do. They don't really need him to go off on offense. They've got their offensive options sorted. Now, in that sorted lies Kemba Walker and his injury concerns. And you're right, even in the playoffs last season, he was kind of on and off, not entirely fit for a few games, looked shaky, was finding his feet, and then he got back. This inconsistency doesn't help anyone. But right now, assuming he stays, it is what it is. It gives Jason Tatum yet another opportunity to shine, take over the offense a little bit more, make it run through him a little bit more, and really just show off why he got that massive 5-year, $195 million contract. This is his team now. Boston Celtics is Jason Tatum's team. He's elevated to that level. Time to shine. Because it's what Ben Simmons did in Philadelphia when Embiid was out. So now, on the other hand, with Kemba, and this is why there's been consistent trade rumor talk around Kemba. Are Boston going to trade him? I wouldn't blame them if they did. He's a great fit there, and they have a good thing going. But these injuries, they're just too much for a young team like that that's developing, finding its feet, finding their chemistry. It just always keeps becoming an interruption, and then they've got to adjust and then go back, and adjust and then go back. And that's the problem they had with Gordon Hayward also. So if they have the opportunity to trade him for a good player, I think they absolutely should.
Yeah, one of the trades that they moved, I think, is going kind of under the radar, is they replaced Brad Wanamaker with Jeff Teague. Teague had he was pretty impressive at Atlanta last season. It's just that we've not seen Atlanta in a long time that we don't remember him. But he's someone who can get off his own shot. He can make the passes. He's kind of a playmaker. Just go on there, pass the ball to Jason Tatum and let him do his thing. So I think Jeff Teague is quite an upgrade of Brad Wanamaker. And I think they kind of anticipated this with Kemba Walker and have a replacement ready for him.
Yeah. No, I love Jeff Teague. So back in Atlanta, it was him and Dennis Schroeder who were largely the two playmakers, and this was before Schroeder to OKC. And Jeff Teague was the better of the two at the time at play creation than Dennis Schroeder, and he was a pretty good point guard. So in that Boston Celtics lineup with the shooting firepower that they have, and with 2-3 players at any point outside of Jeff Teague that can create their own shot, he's a good backup to have. And with him on the court, now I'd expect Jason Tatum to thrive. Because unlike Kemba, he's not going to take as many shots. His usage rate isn't going to be as high, and he can create for you. So it's now entirely up to. I want to see Jason Tatum's off the ball game a little bit more, because we know he's fireworks on the ball, but what can he do off the ball? And that'll be something we'll only discover when you've got a good playmaker. You don't need an elite playmaker, but somebody who can find the right pass at the right time. And then it'll be interesting to see how Jason Tatum's offense has evolved.
Yeah, this is the time that Boston's investments have to mature, right? I mean, they haven't won the league in almost a decade now.
Yeah.
Or more than a decade now. But they've invested in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, knowing that they're going to be the two big things in the future. And this is the time that they've got to stand up and make it count, or else it's going to be counted as a failure if you don't win the league in the next 2 years, maybe 3 years, maybe.
I guess so. But I don't know if it's a failure yet, because they have two good pieces, but neither of them are really a top 5 in basketball kind of name yet. And for Jaylen Brown, I don't think he's ever going to be that guy. I don't think he's going to be a top 10 player at any point in the league. He's a great talent, but let's not kid ourselves with that. So unless he's at that level, I don't see pressure. Like, I'd put that kind of pressure on Mavs, because they have Luka, who's an MVP favorite. And they have Porzingis, who when fit can easily be a top 10 player. So then if they don't get it done, yeah, sure, that's pressure. LeBron, AD, you're one. Like, if you all don't win the chip, you're useless. It's like that. It's that level, because when you put those two players, and that's why Kawhi and Paul George got trolled so much, because the expectations are that high when you've got players of that caliber. These two guys are not there yet. Neither of them are. Now,
yeah, but they need to, because like the Celtics reached the Eastern Conference Finals last season, and I think that was pretty okay for them and was pretty good. Would the Celtics fan base be happy with another conference final? I don't think so. They need to push themselves and probably make the NBA Finals next.
I think the Celtics fan base would have a lot more patience than some of the other fan bases, because they more than anyone else understand the value of moving the needle. They last won in the 80s before they won again in 2008, was it? Yeah, 2008 when they beat the Lakers. So 2 decades nearly of patience before they got a chip again. And the last time they won it before that, before the 80s, was whatever. All those Bill Russell titles and all that nonsense. So with any young squad, the thing is, they got to the conference finals last season. I would have expected them to build on that this season and make some moves. But knowing who all are going to be available in the free agency next season, it makes sense for them to wait it out. I'd keep my eye on Jaylen Brown. I think he could become an important trade asset, and not necessarily someone that's involved in the long run in Boston. But they're on the right track so far. I've not seen them really make any screw ups or any mistakes yet. They're on track, and a title in the next 3 years seems within the realm of possibility, especially with all the moves that they can make in free agency.
All right, that's Boston Celtics. Like I said, a perennial contender. I really enjoy watching the team. There are multiple match winners in that team. There's Brown, there's Tatum, and there's Marcus Smart. And there was Hayward and Kemba Walker as well previously. But with Hayward gone, I think good replacement. They have Jeff Teague now. So I think, this has to be the most well-balanced starting 5 in the league. Or at least in the top 3, right?
Yeah, they did a good job shipping out the right guys at the right time. I think Kyrie left, although largely I think that was on Kyrie. That he kind of made his way out. But that was good riddance for them. For the team, they got better. Whenever he wasn't on the floor, they got better. So it didn't quite work with Kyrie for them, and that was a good move. They got, so Terry Rozier wasn't getting along with Gordon Hayward, and they had massive issues there in terms of adjusting play styles. So they moved out Rozier, got in Kemba. Great move barring the injuries. And a little sadly ironic that now Hayward goes to the Hornets and it's Rozier and Hayward again. Maybe that's what's fueling the Clippers talk. Rozier to the Clippers, but they've made a lot of good moves, like Cantor for Tristan Thompson. That's a great upgrade. Wanamaker out, in comes Jeff Teague. That's a big upgrade. So they're doing all of the right stuff. Very unlike Houston and Philadelphia, who are kind of all over the place sometimes. And they make so many moves that some of them are bound to be okay. It's like the Zodiac column predictions, right? So I like how structural and procedural Boston are. It remains to be seen whether this one step every year for 10 years really pays dividends, or at some point are they going to trade big?
Hmm. All right. So that was Boston Celtics. Both of us had them in our top four picks for the conference. So
Yeah,
always, like I said, always fun to watch Boston Celtics and always fun doing this with you. I think that brings us to the end of this episode, and we'll keep doing this as we approach the start of the season. Then,
absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. See you.
bye.